to the Books, Life, and Shenanigans podcast with your host, Amanda Bird. Hey, thanks for joining me this week with the Books, Life, and Shenanigans podcast. Apologies for last week. That was pretty rough. I'm sure a lot of people did not expect to hear the things that I discussed, or I don't know, maybe the tone of my voice every single time I said something about fuck you, Jay Asher. I don't really know. But yeah, I'm just gonna apologize for that because that was a bit of a crazy episode. So this week we're going to talk about character work. And when I say character work, I don't mean self-character work. I mean my characters specifically. Why are my serial killers women? God, it's taking everything in me right now to not elaborate on that. I will do that in the first bit of this episode. And then in the live section, we're just going to go with It's Too Short, aka YOLO. No. I mean, I might say YOLO here and there, but it's not a word I typically use. So yeah, on to character work. Why are they women serial killers, right? So let's face it. The serial killers are actually more common in the United States than we think they are. I think the number is 36 serial killers or killers you'll meet in your lifetime. Yes, there is a shirt of that in my shop online. But I truly believe if we're talking just murderers, there's more than 36 we encounter in our lifetimes. How many of them are women? I would venture to say more than half, because let's face it, like, we're smart, right? We also don't fuck around. But why my characters are women is, how often do you hear about female serial killers? You don't, right? Like, I'm pretty sure the last one anybody heard about was Aileen Wuornos. And, well, I'm not a fan of hers. I'm just not. She reminds me, though, I'm sorry, the Seminole Heights or Tampa Bay serial killer, whatever the fuck they wound up calling him in the end. That was Aileen Wuornos, right? So she was a professional lot lizard, and she shot truck drivers at point blank range. Now, to me, that's not a serial killer. However, to the FBI, fucking alphabet squad. God, I hope they hear this. Sorry, excuse me. I feel like being a serial killer requires some level of creativity, right? And shooting someone at point blank range is offensive to me and anyone who's a fan of Dexter or Hannibal, right? Like, we're like, no, that's probably not the best idea, because you're just a bitch. Shooting someone is not a personal thing. It's you being detached. It's you being okay. So I just tried to look it up, and well, the psychology of shooting, if I can recall correctly from all of my schooling and then some. What is that? That's not it. I actually printed out bits and pieces of my criminal justice college class, or don't know where they are. Okay, so the psychology of shooting someone is a lot different than the psychology of stabbing someone. Stabbing someone is you had a personal connection, and stabbing is a much more personal kind of killing, whereas shooting, I don't know how to phrase this any differently, is the pussy way to do it. So yeah, I don't particularly have respect for serial killers, not mass killers, serial killers. Mass killers also includes school shooters. So that is outside the scope of this conversation. The only reason the guy in Seminole Heights got the term serial killer is because he killed 3 or more people in the same exact way with the same, signature MO. I don't remember. I've got the shit downloaded. The brain capacity isn't there. The whole reason I'm recording this episode tonight is because I'm fairly certain that between now and the day that this episode is supposed to release, I will not have a voice. So I'm doing it now. Might be a little squeaky. Sorry. But this dude would walk up behind people and shoot them at point blank range and kill them. Hence why I think he's a pussy. You can't face them. You have to stand behind them when you shoot them. The fuck is that? What is that? That's offensive, and it should be offensive to every serial killer everywhere. Jeffrey Dahmer fucking ate his victims. Ate them. BTK. I mean, it hurts. It hurts my brain. I'm not saying I respect serial killers, but at least they looked their victims in the eyes before they died. This guy, no, didn't. So back to the whole Aileen Wuornos thing. She kind of did the same thing. She was a professional lot lizard, and she shot her victims. And then somehow or another, she wound up with an accomplice, and the accomplice ratted her out, which, duh, bitch. Did you think that was a good idea? No, not even close. Furthest thing from good idea. Damn. So my characters are women. Going back to last week, write what you know, right? I'm a woman. And I know how psycho we can all be. I don't know how many of you are into astrology, but Scorpios, well, we're probably, we are some of the most dramatic of the zodiac. It's us and Gemini who are the most dramatic, which amuses the hell out of me. And Scorpios are also very distrustful. We're everything that you read about a Scorpio. Yeah, we're all of it. We have this ability to kind of flip a switch where we go from like love you to fuck you, and it's scary as hell. I'm not gonna lie, it's very scary. But you know, we as women. I get back to the actual point here. We as women are, and I say this as a woman, we are a challenge to deal with, right? Like we're a lot. Hell, sometimes I am a lot for myself, and I will be the first to admit it. I'll sit here and be like, okay, I'm too much for me to deal with, so I'm just going to withdraw from everyone right now. Please don't take this personally. Love you. I'll be back in like a day or two. I'm laughing because I've done this, and I will probably continue to do this. When I get to be too much for myself to handle, I'm like, to those I speak to on a daily basis, and those I adore and respect and just love the hell out of, I'm like, hey, I'm a lot right now. I'm just going to withdraw. I'll be back. When it comes to my work situation, I will reach out to my director, reach out to my manager and just be like, I can't stand myself right now. So I'm probably going to be a lot too dramatic about this, but X, Y, and Z. And I try to be as succinct and to the point as I can be. But my characters are female serial killers, number one, because there are so few actual female serial killers. I'm going to caveat that with this, that have been caught. How many have there actually been versus how many who have been caught, right? That's right. I see those gears in your head turning. All right, stop. I see the smoke now. So there's that. Plus, again, unlike certain other writers, I am writing what I know. I'm a female. I know females. We're all fucking crazy. Don't let a single one of them tell you she's not. Promise, she nuts. But, you know, I have the ability to write female characters a little bit more clearly than those who, let's say, don't have the proper guidance or have not gotten the proper guidance and or references, however you want to look at it. But also, and this is a big thing, my characters are super fun to write, whether they are inside their own head, dealing with the monotony of day-to-day life, stalking, killing, dumping the bodies. This goes for, Brittany. This goes for Morgan, and soon to be the serial women of history. Now, all of those women are going to be different women, right? So that's going to be I will say writing Amelia Earhart has proven to be so much of a challenge that book will not be out until next year at this point. Just because I'm terrified I'm just not doing her justice. My editor seems to disagree from what he's read that I've written, because he's read every single word that I've written so far. And he thinks I need to keep going. And then my brain was just like, nope. And then Brittany showed back up and was like, hold up, I got some shit to talk about. So Brittany's talking. The word count total for Brittany at this point is nowhere near where it should be, though I did just reach out to my friend who recommended my editor to me, and well, he may have just inadvertently given me an opening that I kind of sort of maybe needed. Okay, not maybe, not kind of sort of, totally fucking needed. I've been super tired this week. I don't know why. I've been waking up at 2 a.m. for no reason. I shouldn't be waking up until 4 when my alarm goes off. But no, brain's like, hey, it's 2 a.m. or just before 2 a.m. Let's wake up. No, brain. I need to sleep until 4. Anyway, female serial killers. It started as a joke, and now the ongoing joke is we don't get enough credit. When I say we, I'm not saying that we, as in me, is a serial killer. I'm only a serial killer in books. But women in general, as, let's say, theoretical serial killers, right? Like Aileen Wuornos didn't get the credit because, well, what did she do to deserve it? But she was the last woman, the last serial killer to be executed in the country and the last person to be executed in the state of Florida. Why that is beyond me, but we won't go there. I don't understand, right? Like there were other female serial killers prior to her. in history, there was that woman who ran like the boarding house that poisoned people, which is telltale of women. Women poison. Women don't shoot. Women poison, they stab, which is, it's kind of out of the norm, right? That Aileen Wuornos was shooting people, because that's not the psychological profile of women. I will be doing a lot more research into this. I have a few people I can speak to with regards to, you know, the feds being quote unquote notified to suspicious, if I could speak, browser data, as well as, you know, the psychological profile of a female killer. It's just because women are more emotional than men, largely speaking, because I'm a call an audible on the field here. Y'all men are just conditioned that it's not okay to be emotional. It's not okay to express your emotions. Let me tell you something. Us women would feel a bazillion times better if you fucking did. So do yourself and us a favor. Swallow the pride, just like a lot of us women have to do, and speak. Just say it. Okay, so anyway, sorry. It was a weird side tangent, but also played into it because, you know, there are women who are super full of pride and they can't swallow it either. And then good stuff kind of falls to shit because nobody can say anything. And I think that's a lot of what, you know, leads women to kill, right? We've all seen Snapped on ID. We've all fucking seen it. Some of these women are killing over the dumbest shit. And I'm like, but what? He cheated. Walk the fuck away. Let him understand. Let him see. Fucking look. The best revenge for me is living a good life. And that is, you know, me speaking as someone who went through the things that I went through, especially in the past 2.5 years, right? The best revenge is living a good life. The best revenge is I know I will truly be happy and I know he never will be. So, I mean, the words fuck you just don't even apply at that point, right? Because I'm already living better. And I think that's what these women on this Snap show, man, they're crazy. They're crazy. But I mean, I can see why they're snapping. Everybody's an inch away from snapping. I don't care who you are. All right, maybe not everybody. Some people are just, to me, weirdly out of touch, or at least like so comfortable with their emotions and how they feel and how they speak, and they don't get angry. And part of me is envious of those people, but then part of me is like, no, I'm kind of okay with being an emotional weirdo. All right. What was it? Box of Fruit Loops. You know, I don't want to be a box of Fruit Loops. Maybe a couple of Fruit Loops in a bowl, just kind of floating by themselves. But I don't want to be a box of Fruit Loops. However, it still happens. You know, whatever. I take it as it comes. I deal with it. I've been handling it a lot better than I ever have in the past. So I'm not going to complain. But my point is, female serial killers, at least the fictional kind, are a lot more fun to play with, right? Because they've got all these emotions and you can dive into that and you can pull that apart and you can dissect her brain. You can show, just like in Dexter, the internal monologue, right? And let's face it, a woman's internal monologue is a lot different than a man's, especially when we're talking, you know, lack of empathy versus empathetic and sensitive and all of these things that specifically Dexter was not. So, like in the case of Brittany Cage, she's got the empathy. She's got, the sympathy. She's got all of these feelings. She just compartmentalizes them really well until things happen and she finally fucking loses it. And when I say she loses it, it's post kill. She breaks down. This was a person who at one point in time meant the world. Well, maybe not the world to her, but this person meant a lot to her. And then she found out what an epic piece of shit this person was. They couldn't really even be called a human. They were an abusive, narcissistic. Yes, it was based on. I've brought this up before. It was based on him. So when Brittany killed him, there was this flood of emotions, and Book 8 is still the fallout of that. And she's finally, at least where we're at in the story now with Book 8, she is finally past it. She is just about to start some things that I'm not going to spoil. But Brittany's a lot of fun because I get to explore her inner psyche, her line of thinking, how she sees things. And she's a fictional character, but let's face it, like the biggest thing for all of us who are writers are fictional characters, at least one in every book, especially if we're writing in different series or non-concurrent characters, however you want to look at it. We put a huge part of ourselves into our main character. And then we put a little bit of ourselves into every other character. So we're kind of like Voldemort in the sense, not the evil sense, I promise. But we're kind of like Voldemort where, all right, I don't promise for myself. I don't know about everybody else. But we piece ourselves out to these characters, right? So I don't even know how to wrap that up. We piece ourselves out into these characters, and each character's got a different piece of us. Some characters may have more, some characters may have less. It's a fun thing to watch unfold, right? If you haven't done it, you don't particularly know. And if you don't know the author who's writing the story on a personal level, you still don't particularly know. My friends who read my books fully fucking understand. Oh, I see this, and this in this character, and I see this in this character, and I see this in this character, and holy fucking shit, did you really just do that? These are things I hear every book, every time I release a book, and it never gets old. Probably just because it amuses me so much, and it's not that like I'm a heartless, cruel, non-empathetic person, because all of those are the polar opposite of who I am. So to those of you who know me, who know the author me versus me, I suppose this episode is your awakening that the me may actually not be me. Public appearances, la, la, la. Also, I'm really not trying to get myself canceled yet. Let me get to Larry Correa status and then we'll talk about it. Let me get to Larry Correa status, which, well, that's a lot. No, I'm not buying a fucking mountain in Utah. No, your car freezes to the ground in Utah. I'm good. Just look up Yard Moose Mountain if you're not sure. Even if you've never heard of Larry. So I'm going to take this break to ask you to like, subscribe, follow wherever you're at. Promise these episodes are only going to get more fun. I will have more shenanigans at some point. I've just been lacking the creative brain power of shenanigans, so they just haven't particularly existed since the full shenanigans episode. So into It's Too Short. No, darling. I'm not talking about what's in your pants. I'm just gonna leave that where it's at. I can't elaborate. So it's too short, otherwise known as YOLO. I fucking hate that phrase. But also, you do only live once. You get one life. We're not cats. We don't get 9 lives. And let's face it, cats don't get 9 lives either. My cat probably thinks that she does, but no, it's just one. So in the past, we'll say 5 weeks, there has been a lot of shit that has gone on in my personal life. My absolute best friend almost lost her husband. There was a point where we all thought he was coming home in a box. And I don't know how she kept it together. At one point, she had me really concerned. And then when she finally did call me, she's like, oh, yeah, he's coming home tomorrow. I said, the fuck did you just say to me? So it just... Between that and then that made me think back on, my cousin I lost 10 years ago, my grandfather a couple years before that. My cousin and my grandfather were the closest people to me. Now, when my grandfather passed, I compartmentalized the absolute fuck out of that, because when he passed, it was left to me to be the backbone of the family. And when you're the black sheep of the family, left to be the backbone, it doesn't particularly work out so well. Okay. And then my cousin passed, and that fucking destroyed me. And I let it destroy me for about a month-ish before I compartmentalized that as well. Compartmentalization is beneficial to a degree, but when you get to where I was, the words cold, unfeeling, and heartless were frequently used to describe me, because nobody saw how I was behind closed doors. And I was a fucking mess. But my point is this: you get just one life. And I have been reminding myself of this multiple times a day, every day. So when I don't feel like writing, and when I say I don't feel like writing, it's usually because I'm fucking exhausted because of my soul-sucking day job, or because for whatever reason, like today, I woke up, I had my usual, 2 mugs of coffee, which is the equivalent of, I think, like 4 cups because my mug's so big. But like I had that and I was still ready to go to sleep, but I had this thing I needed to do for my dad. So I had to go down to Ybor, and it was like, I was just fucking grumpy because I was tired and I really didn't want to go. I wanted to make it a thing, like a sort of day trip with my dude, but he had to work. And also he's just not feeling well. So I just didn't want to go. And then, nothing against Cuban men, but like, if you've ever been around them, they are special. They seem to think resting bitch face is an invitation. Now, granted, this particular Cuban was behind the counter, and he was just, I was like, is he being nice because he's behind the counter and he's ringing up these things I have to get for my dad and then send them to my dad? Or is he actually like flirting with me, right? He's Cuban. He's fucking flirting because this is what they do. And I'm okay with that. I took nothing like, oh God, he's flirting with me. Is my resting bitch face not enough? But it was the next guy who just fucking stared at me, and I'm like, really? This is just... So this is that shit that women hate. Now, One Life Brittany Cage would have been like, let's kill this motherfucker. One Life me is like, bro, get a life. Go stare at somebody else who might actually flirt with you, or at least tell you to fuck yourself, right? Me, I'm just rolling my eyes and walking on by because no, don't have time. It's just absolutely in love with someone else that I've the in love with. I have never been so deeply in love with someone else before. Fuck, I don't even think I've been this deeply in love with myself before. But, and when I say that, I mean like I am very deeply in love with myself these days. And I think that's got a lot to do with the healing, right? So again, life is too short. Please, please, please don't fucking spend it being sad, being depressed, being lonely. Do what you have to do for you. Be fucking happy. You only get one. Stop it. Like, I think at this point in my life, because I am the answer, if you don't get the reference, do us all a favor, including yourself, especially yourself. Search The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy radio show. Don't even bother reading the book. Don't watch the movie. Listen to the radio show broadcast because that is probably the best version. And I may be super, super, super biased because that was my first interaction with The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. But being the answer for the next 360 some odd, 50 some odd days, I can tell you it's all just a minor detail. While yes, the devil is in the details. Yes, the little things do add up and get to be the big things and they become the make it or break it. You get one. You need to do what you need to do to be happy. If that means cutting out the toxicity, if that means walking away from someone you've known your whole life, a family member, a friend, a parent, doesn't matter. Walk. Because in the end, you are the only one who can make you happy, right? So why bother? Is it a waste of time to be around that person you know is toxic? Is it a waste of your energy? Is it a waste of essentially your love, your empathy, something you could be doing to, make yourself happy, or, you're hanging, like, when I say make yourself happy, I mean, like, did you give up time with friends or your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your significant other? We'll just go with that. To be around someone you don't particularly want to be around, like say your toxic aunt, right? Because she's always berating you for one reason or another, but she's family and you feel obligated, right? Fuck that obligation. Throw that shit out the window. Make yourself happy because you only get one life. These people are fucking energy vampires. They are feeling vampires. Stop it and do yourself a favor and learn how to say no. Learn how to draw boundaries. Learn how to say these things like, this isn't good for my overall well-being. I'm not going to be a part of it anymore because of that, right? That's that boundary. Damn it, Nick, I sound like you. Nick. Nick is my boundary coach. He's not just mine. He's lots of other people's too. He's fucking amazing. And the biggest reason I respect the hell out of him is because he rock bottom built his boundaries up. And yeah, so I joined the boundary boot camp, and that's that. I will share links when he opens it back up. It's currently not open. So anyway, my throat hurts. I don't know how many more times I can say this. You only get the one. If it's not something that benefits you in some way, shape, or form, if it's not something that truly makes you happy, and please take this with a lot of grains of salt. Like, my job doesn't truly make me happy. There are things that I would rather be doing as my job that do truly make me happy, but it's just going to take a little while to actually get those things to be my full-time income generation. So I don't particularly, I guess I do compartmentalize my job. I'm slowly working on feeling less about my job and identifying, putting my identity in line with my job, because my job is not who I am, at least not this job. So that's kind of, this the kind of thing I mean. Like, if it's not, yes, if you can't afford to leave your job, then don't. I can't afford to leave mine, so I don't. But if you know it's not making you happy, look for other ways to make yourself happy, ways to separate yourself from that, because some things are not your identity, right? Like the auntie in the example I gave before, she's not your identity. She's just related to you. That's it. That's all she is. If you got to cut her out, cut her out. It sucks. And sometimes it's really hard to do. But I promise you, there's plenty of us who have cut out a toxic family member and will be there to support you when you cut yours out. Pretty sure we all have them. There are also, the family members that we resent for one reason or another. And if we can't get over that specific resentment, then that's kind of on us, because sometimes that resentment is out of our control. The resentment that I used to have for my incubator, I don't have it anymore, but I refuse to call her my mother, because just because she gave birth to me doesn't mean that she deserves the title of mother, because I don't think she was a mother to me much after the age of, 5, 6. One of her sisters was more of a mother to me than she was. But it took me a long time to cut her out of my life. And at this point, it took me 15-ish years to cut her out entirely. And then it took me 2 to cut out the other narcissist. I will no longer, after both of those experiences, I will no longer stay in a situation like either one of those. I will clear the fuck out as soon as things start to devolve into that. Whether it's the malignant narcissism like I grew up with, or the vulnerable narcissism that I was married to. Once you show me your true colors, if they're toxic, if they're narcissistic, if they're fucking terrible, I'm out. I'm done. Show me anything like what she was or what he was, I may just ghost you. Because to me, after being through those things and one life, honestly, you're a waste of my fucking breath at that point. I don't owe you anything, and you don't owe me anything. In a situation where it's someone you speak to every day, like some weird breakup, friends, family, whatever. It's one of those situations where it's like this kind of out of the blue, we'll call it a breakup situation, right? They just say to you one day, like, hey, I can't talk to you, or I can't see you anymore. And you're like, what the fuck just happened? What? It's like, this came out of nowhere. That's the kind of thing that you might need some closure for, right? Or maybe it's just a conversation. Maybe it's something that they're too scared to talk about with you. They're too uncomfortable to talk about with you. Maybe it's just they think you're the toxic one, right? Open up that line of communication, because for something like that to come out of the blue, you're just like, huh? So it's kind of like your cat at 3 a.m. with the zoomies when they jump on your fucking head and you wake up and you're like, what the fuck just happened? Or like a night terror. Actually, no, it's a really bad example, because a night terror, you're fully aware of what's going on. and what's happening around you. And sometimes you wake up really, really, really grateful that you don't sleep with a loaded weapon. All right, that's only happened once. Anyway. You only get one. I implore you, even if that means seeking therapy or some kind of outside help, do it. In the grand scheme of things, 80, 90 years isn't really a long time. It's not. I have a lot of things I want to accomplish in the next 40 years. A lot. Is 40 years enough time? Probably not. But I'll be damned if I don't fucking try. And that's the whole point of this portion of this episode. Try. For no one else but yourself. Unless you're the type of person who truly dedicates yourself to others and you're just that selfless. But do it. Do what makes you happy. Do what makes your soul happy. What's the saying? Do what makes your soul shine. I'm not going to say shine like a diamond because diamonds don't shine. They fucking reflect. You understand where I'm coming from. And that's really all that matters. And from there, I will end this week's episode. Don't ask me what next week's episode is going to consist of because I have a blank notebook page. It just says episode 27. I'll get there, I promise. So thank you so much for hanging out with me again this week. Like, subscribe, share, follow, and I'll talk to you next week. This has been the Books, Life, and Shenanigans podcast with Amanda Bird. Song credit, audionautics.com. Intro action, AUDIONAUTIX.com. And if you'd like to support this podcast, head over to substack.com/@Books, Life, and Shenanigans.